as we introduce our panelists. So the first person we have on the panel is a pastor, the lead pastor of Covenant Life Baptist Church. He's a life coach and spiritual strategist. He strategically establishes people and organizations on the path towards happiness and success in their personal, professional, and corporate lives. Pastor Chika educates people and organizations on how to tap into their energy circles and free them from energy blockages for success and happiness. His mission is to unlock lives by unlocking the spirit, soul, and body. The Oracle is passionate about people finding meaning in life, helping them improve their lives by improving their energy circles. Thank you very much, Pastor Chika, for being here. I am honored to have you here. The next person on our panel is an award-winning icon with over 3 decades of great experience in journalism and 13 years in publishing. Adesua Oyenukwe is recognized as one of the most influential forces in the Nigerian media. She is the founder and editor-in-chief of Nigeria's leading women lifestyle magazine, Today's Woman. As a seasoned journalist, event anchor, elocution trainer and writer, and interviewer per excellence, Adesua executive produced and presented Seriously Speaking, a general interest television chat show and women's conversation program, TW Conversations. She's a communication coach, motivational speaker with a passion for women, youth, and development issues. You are very welcome, Ma. I am happy to have you here. The next on our panel is the founder of the award-winning platform, Lagos Moms, the first Nigerian blog dedicated to moms, parents, and caregivers. She believes that parenting should be a mindful and collaborative process. As the lead consultant at Slay with Digital, she consults on digital transformation and digital media marketing strategic planning for business owners and companies. She's a coach and public speaker on several platforms, both locally and globally. She is passionate about parenting and the digital space. Thank you so much, Madam Yeti. I am honored to have you here. And then we also have the founder and the chief catalyst at the Olushola Lanre Coaching Academy, a mind, emotions, and behavioral change coaching academy, working with individuals and organizations to transform lives by transforming minds. Lanre Olushola is renowned for his extensive array of works of coaching, publishing, and keynote speaking with individuals and organizations locally and internationally. He is renowned for pioneering the life coaching industry in Nigeria and creating the first wholly integrative coaching academy in West Africa. He is passionate about people and moving individuals and organizations from where they currently are to where they desire, deserve, and are designed to be. Tisisa, I welcome you. Thank you so much for being here. And finally, the one and only, your host, the host for this event. I am a life coach and NLP practitioner. I am an integrated practitioner in training, also one of the lead coaches at Enliven Coaching Academy. Enliven Coaching Academy helps individuals and organizations gain clarity, direction, and purpose. One of our passions, working with teenagers and parents. When teenagers find themselves come up with their desired outcomes. We call it the overhaul process. We also have a track record of getting students adequately prepared to gain admission in any school of their choice. Thank you so much for all being here. I am grateful and elated to have you here. So without wasting any of our time, we're going to be going straight into this. So Madam Yeti, over to you. So we wonder, each time we say terrible twos, and it's as though parents are just waiting when the child is 2 years old. Okay, let's see what gimmick you are going to pull. And then next thing now, we're also wondering, teenagers are difficult, parenting teenagers is hard. Is there really a gap to bridge, or is it something we just made up and we are waiting? Oh yeah, now you're a teenager, show me what you are doing so I can claw you down. So which is it exactly? So please speak to our theme for today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here. Looking forward to the conversation today. And with that question you asked, I think it's really important to start from the place that says, whatever you say and whatever you're looking forward to, you will find it. So if you start by saying, it's terrible twos, you will have terrible twos. If you start by saying the teenagers are going to be difficult and challenging, then they will be. So I think it's really important as parents, caregivers, teachers to start from that perspective that every stage of life we go through, we're supposed to go through it. It's not a mistake. That's why we don't get born and we're immediately an adult. We have to go through the evolution. And so my children are now in the teenage years. And I remember when we were getting to the 2-year-old stage and they were toddlers, I refused to call it the terrible twos. I saw it as these are children who are starting to learn how to share their opinion. At that age, they are testing boundaries because they're supposed to test boundaries. That's why a child will tell you no many times, because that's even what they hear us telling them all the time. Don't do that, stop. We hardly ever replace it with what they should be doing. It's always don't do that, sit down, stop it. So we start to curtail their creativity and their natural desire to figure out how the world works because we feel we know better and we do know better. So we're trying to protect them. So that's in the toddler years. Now, as they start to get older, I keep saying that our children haven't changed. It's the world around them that has changed. What we went through as teenagers, sometimes I wonder and say, wow, if there was social media when I was a teenager, God knows the things I would have gotten up to. And that's the truth. So let's also relax a little bit and realize that our teenagers are growing up in a digital age. But it doesn't mean that fundamentally children have become, they don't have horns on their head because they become teenagers. They're evolving. So I think it's really important, first of all, as parents. Ooh, we need someone to mute. I think it's important for us as parents and caregivers to realize that, they are going to go through these stages, and we actually have to be more empathetic. And what do I mean by that? Our children nowadays are dealing with so much more than we ever did. So one of the biggest mistakes I find that we make is when we make comments such as, in my days. By the time you do that, in my days, your children have already just canceled you. That forget this one. She doesn't even understand what's going on in our days. And she's talking about, what happened back then. So let's just realize that we're in a disposition that's digital. Everything is happening online, on social media, on digital media. It's not good or bad in itself, but we need to realize that we have to unlearn and relearn how to parent in this age because we've never done it before. We don't have a copy and paste model to follow. Fortunately or unfortunately, our parents didn't raise us in the digital world. So we are like the first generation having to learn how to navigate the analog world, so pre-digital, and the digital world. Yet we're raising fully digital children. So the way they see the world is completely different from us. And the only way to reduce tension is to lead with communication, lead with understanding, and to lead with empathy. When we lead with that, the teenagers will not be full of tension and drama. It would actually be full of, a process where we're developing and growing together and helping the children to navigate what seems to really be a crazy world right now. So I hope that's just a little bit of an intro that answers your question.
Yes, it does. You did justice to that. Thank you so much, Ma. Pastor Chika, let's hear you, please. Concerning this bridge that we're all talking, this gap that we're all talking about. I mean, you've raised men and then you are still interacting with teenagers every single time. So let's hear your perspective to this, sir.
Like Yeti said, a gap really exists because the world in which I was raised is far different from the world that I find myself in now. The way I interacted with my parents is far different from the way my children interact with me now. So I have come to realize that something has changed. And if something has changed, the best way for me as Chika to bridge that gap is to start from myself, not to start from the children. And starting from myself means, like Yeti said, I have to unlearn so many things. In my days, my parents give an instruction, whether I understand it or not, I execute it. In the day I have found myself, I give an instruction, my children will ask why, and they want to understand the nitty-gritty of it. So I have decided to change internally to be able to bridge that gap, because in understanding myself in this age, I am able to plug myself into their world. Why I am advocating a lot of internal change is because many parents, or some parents, have become ossified. You know, they have become like the proverbial dry stick that has refused to, that can easily break, or the proverbial dog that cannot learn new tricks in old age. So internal change is important in bridging the gap because the world has changed. Thank you, Majuto.
Thank you so much for that, sir. We'll come back to you concerning the internal changes, so because we are wondering how do we go about the internal change, but we'll come back to you on that one. So TC, sir, please, could you speak to this theme and the gap that exists that we need to change, sir? You are muted, sir. You're still muted.
All right, can you?
Yes, we can.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much, Unwa, for putting this program together. Truly laudable.
Thank you very much, sir.
That is very, very critical. It's very, very important. It is very important because we live in a very precarious, unique, confusing, conflicting, dynamic, rapid, fast-moving world. And we have very, very fundamental and critical issues and problems that we need to begin to look at, some of which are traditional, religious, and cultural. And so the interesting thing about one of the most important roles in this life, parenting, the interesting thing about it is there is no parenting school. Because if you want to develop your skills or your knowledge or your competencies in anything, right, there are, institutions that teach. And so you register to attend the schools. If you want to be a great engineer, there are several engineering schools across the world. If you want to be a good pilot, there are several piloting schools. And there are curriculums, right? There are standard, content and knowledge that you must acquire and understanding that you must have so that you can go and apply it, so that you can be successful at it, you can be great at it. So how many schools do we have that teach parenting? If we have any, maybe it is people that are just trying to do their best because of their, their own personal experiences and challenges, or maybe their calling. But where are the Harvards of this world? Where are the Oxfords of this world? Where are the Cambridge of this world? Because the most important institution is not the church, it is the family. And the most important responsibility of the most important institution in the world is parenting. Hitler had parents. Saddam Hussein had parents. Barack Obama had parents. Donald Trump had parents. And so, nurture is what creates nature. Donald Trump turned out the way he turned out and became who he became by virtue of how he was parented. Hitler became who he became simply because of his nurture. Likewise, Napoleon, great people and terrible people. And so we must begin the conversation around institutionalizing parenting if we would truly want to address issues. Now, the reality of our existence is not constant. We are constantly evolving. And so as we constantly evolve, right, things have to evolve. So let me take you back in history. Adam and Eve were the first of God's creations, right? Adam was male, Eve was female. And then, you know, they both had sex and gave birth to their children. But today, there's 7.8 billion of us from Adam and Eve. So let's ask the question, who did Adam's children sleep with to have their children? So Adam and Eve's grandchildren came from who? Adam and Eve's great-grandchildren came from who? Incest. Now, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that today, incest is morally wrong. When creation started and multiplication needed to start, it was a necessity. But tradition and culture has changed. People frown at it. Even biologically, they will prove to you that there are certain challenges, medical challenges, that result from incest. Which means that even if we study that book of history called the Bible, you will see certain things that have evolved. If you, whoever has gone to a Babalawo's house before, anybody here? I have. When I was young, they were telling us that, you know, you can bring mercury and somebody can turn mercury to money. When I was, you know, 15, 16. So this, our electrician told me to go and get some mercury. So I went to get mercury. Then he took me to one Baba in K2. So I went to K2. You know, so when we got there, the Baba started to count. Then I saw him levitate. Bah! Just found himself on the floor. I started to look. Then he started say, you have to go and bring white cow, white goat, white chicken. I said, with all the money I spent to get this mercury. He said, yes, you have to go and bring all those things. Then I was looking at his altar, blood on it. You know how then he was wearing one robe with red and those cows. I just shook my head. I said, this guy, if he can convert mercury to money, he will not be in this hut.
True.
I've seen it. I've seen the altar of the Babalawo. Now, when I read Old Testament, the way they describe the altar, that because if you see, you have to bring a cow, and the priest has to take the cow to the altar to slaughter it. And next, the altar used to be like Babalawo's altar. But if today you go to church and you see the altar with blood and, imagine the smell, imagine the look. That's what it used to look like. But we have moved away from there. We have transitioned away from there. We used to live in a dispensation of the law. We now live in a dispensation of grace. There was no Holy Ghost that used to inhabit people before. Today, the Holy Ghost comes upon you and inhabits you. That is, God dwells inside of you. So, if there's, that evolution in scriptures, in history, then parenting surely must evolve. Now, Charles Darwin says that it is not the strongest or the most intelligent of species that survive. It is the most responsive to change. So let me use that quote for parenting. It is not the strictest or the most intelligent or the richest parents that will bring up the best children. It is the parents that understand that they have to change. We have to change. It is not our children that need to change, unfortunately. We have to change. We have to change. So, two critical things. Number one, institutions have to be put in place for this great role called parenting. Secondly, parents have to change. We want to remain the way we were. We want to parent the way we were parented. We were expecting a different result. Albert Einstein says that the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Nothing will change if we do not change. Look, we're waiting for the world to change. We're waiting for our children to change. Meanwhile, the easiest thing that we can change is not the world. It is not our children. It is ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, TC. You did justice to that. But then we will have to come back to you on that one, saying that parents need to change. We can't give out what we do not have, like we would normally say. So I'm just wondering, the way we parent, in my opinion, is what we have seen happen or how we have seen parenting, our parents, our aunties and all that. Then that's the same thing we also do with our children. But just hold that thought. We'll come back to you on that one. So Madam Adesua, big Auntie A, thanks a lot for being here. Now you've parented teenagers, or rather, is that the right English? You've done it in different generations, as in you have them grown and then you have them. So I want to know, is there really something that needs to change? Like TC now is saying we need to change, we need to change. What exactly are we doing wrong and what should we be doing right? So please speak to this theme, bridging the gap.
Please, can I just confirm that everybody can hear me?
Oh yes, I can hear you loud
okay,
and
great.
clear.
That's good. I hope everybody else can. And can I just plead that all the mommies in the house should kindly just mute their computers or their phones. I know what it is like raising children and you're trying to do something that is important. And we can see and hear all the noise in some cases. And I want to thank everybody who's here today, now the house. And I want to thank the panelists, especially the convener who sold the idea to TC, who sold the idea to most of us on the panel today. And I guess with TC, we describe him as Inwi, which means wind, somebody who has knowledge that we don't know where it's coming from. So he knows exactly what's needed. If you listen or if you know what Yeti does, Yeti is on the path to that place where there'll be an institution that's teaching parents what to do. And then if you listen to our one and only Chika, the oracle, he's already beginning to speak about the need for parents to look at themselves first before they look at what they can do for their kids. So he's in that space. He's in the world of church, the world where most of the change has to start from there. And then you look at TC himself, who is in the business of transforming minds and raising people that will transform minds as well. So you definitely have the right people. And then me, I only have one teenager left of my 7, and she's going to get out of that space in December. She's going to be 20, and she's a first-year law student in Durham in the UK. Now, I have the kids born in, I call them my sandwich. I have 2 girls first, and then 3 boys, and then 2 girls. So it's a sandwich. So at the period when I was raising the two girls, it was nice, easy. Then the boys came, they turned the house around. Then the other two girls came, which I describe as the cherry on the top. But in all of that time, what I have realized and what I've discovered is, like Yeti says, there's a word that's called the terrible twos. That word came out of research that was done by some psychologists in those days that was called Dr. Spock. Dr. Spock was a go-to book for most parents like us, just like every woman was a go-to book when we were growing up, where you wanted to know what's happening to your body. You're becoming a woman. So every woman had all of those things. So we went to books, those who knew. And Dr. Spock had it right in terms of identifying what happened at the different stages of a child's life. Now, why am I going this route? The truth is, even if you teach parents what to do, parenting will happen to you. You will apply it in different ways. But that knowledge helps to guide you, and you apply based on your particular circumstance. What you can't change is the fact that when a child is 2, his or her level of curiosity will rise. And then he will start to realize that I actually have my own say. I can say no. And he begins to say the no. So everything you tell the child, you say no. So if you've been told about it, instead of calling it terrible twos, if you say like Yeti says, it's the stage where the child is exploring and you get ready for it. Like when I had 3 sons, and they're grown up now. When I tell them, they laugh. When I had them, I didn't buy a new television or a new, then we had video recorder because they kept on messing with it and spoiling it. And we always had TV and in the living room to encourage everybody to watch in the living room instead of having TV in children's room, even if we could afford it. So at that stage, there was no point buying, because you buy anyone, the boys would destroy it. You buy anyone, the boys would destroy it. So we learned to manage with it. Now, in my introduction, and it's a good thing that it's a panel conversation. People are going to ask questions. Some people are sent questions. But what I'd say is, in all of these years, right, what I realized is, at the end of the day, what matters is love. And it takes me back to the Holy Book. TC said something about the Holy Book is both a book of history. It really is. But if you look at the Trinitarian love of God, God the Father came as God the Son to express that love to human beings. And it left God the Holy Spirit to continue to live that love within us. And if you look at Paul's prayer in Ephesians, I'm not a pastor, but I remember my old priest used to tell me that all of us, our lives are a pulpit, right? So we must learn to live what we practice. In Paul's prayer, he said something which I wrote down this morning. Incidentally, that was what I was meditating on this morning. It was strange. It says in Ephesians 3, chapter 14, Paul's prayer, he ends by saying, I kneel in the presence of the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth has received its name. It means a family. And if family wasn't important, God wouldn't have come as man within a family. Husband, wife, and child. That is the example that he gave by coming like that. God could have fallen from the sky, but he did. And Joseph was going to run away because he wasn't sure. He was a good man. He was a just man. He didn't want to disgrace Our Lady Mary. So he wanted to run away. But the angel came and said, stay, to give an example of what a good father is. A good father is the one that stays by his wife regardless of whatever. That's what a good father is. And a good mother is the one that at least submits to the will of God and to her husband. That's what a good mother is, as exemplified by the early family. So if that's the case, at the end of the day, he said he has breathed in us. We have the Spirit of God. Even the Holy Spirit descended on the apostles. So we have the Spirit in us. We just haven't realized how powerful we are as human beings and begin to use it. It doesn't mean that I always knew or I never knew, but somehow the things that we do right are guided by the Holy Spirit. And if we move with that, we realize we get it right. Because one thing I'd like to say is there are 3 things on the side of why do teenagers, why do they have wahala? That's what I call it. 3 things. 1, every teenager believes their parents are old school. We believe the same thing of our parents. And it's the truth. We are old school. The second thing, they believe that they don't understand me. I remember growing up and my mother would go on. When I go to a party, all she would be telling me is that, hey, go and get pregnant, you hear? Go and get pregnant. But she didn't know that I was a very careful girl and I knew how to take care of myself. But she worried that I would get pregnant. That was her worry. So she would come, she would abuse me, she would talk. Go and get pregnant, you hear? But because she didn't know me. Then the third thing is we are going to stop them from fun, from enjoying themselves, from expressing themselves, from finding themselves. And see, by 2, they are beginning to explore. By 8, 9, their brain is formed already to the level it will form. By 12, their bodies begin to speak to them, and their bodies are moving them. At this stage, they're talking to friends, they're talking to everybody. Between the ages of 12 and 14, we have to be careful with what our children know, because their bodies are speaking to them. We have to know how to speak to them about their bodies if we don't want to wait for things, or because these days, technology has taken over. We've given them the world in their palms. They will learn all the things you don't want to tell them. So those are the 3 things. First, Teen Wahala is about being old school, not being understood, and wanting to stop them, which is why the 3 things we must do, which I have tried, which I have worked, which I have over time learned to see, is that you must build trust with your children. Build the trust. Second thing, look out for their interest. Look out for their interest. What is it that they want to do? It's not just about what you want. What do they want to do? But most importantly, take a stand. Where do you stand as a parent? I'd find I'm watching things. We talk about all kinds of things as they became teenagers and are growing out of teenager, even up until today. Talk about things like gay rights, women's rights, human rights. They will argue with you from today till next year. You say, yes, it's fine. It's what you think. It's what the world is teaching you. But I know, I've lived it, and this is where I stand. We can't force our children to do anything, especially after they've turned 17. You must make sure you put in them all that you believe is right and be the example that they want to be. But there are 2 things your children will do to you, right? They will tug at your heart. They'll do things that make you very proud. And they'll break your heart. They'll do things that will make you cry. We should never forget that. I'm done talking.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Auntie A. Wow, they will make you smile and then they will make you cry. I'm wondering. Okay, so we have several questions that have been asked, but before we go into it, can we talk about all of you that have spoken right now on the panel? We have talked about change. Madam Yeti started talking about how it's the environment that is changing, not the children that need to change. And then it's a digital world. Many things here and there. TC now has spoken. History, generation, change, institution needs to be regulated. Oh yeah, Pastor Chika, same thing. Everybody is saying we should change. Please, how? How am I supposed to change? How are we as parents supposed to change? So please, if we could take this all around and just please chime in on how you think we can change, because the truth is we can only give out what we have on the inside of us. So even when we resolve, I saw a write-up once, somebody said motherhood is shouting, motherhood is spanking. So you wonder, what can I do? How do I change? Even when I've resolved that, oh, today is the day that I am going to love them with all my heart. Next thing they break it. And next thing you've changed again, you're back to status quo. So please, can we chime in just in little bits before we begin to look at the questions, even though we've touched some of the questions already, but let's chime in on this whole change thing and how you think we can proceed as parents. Let's hear you, Pastor Chika. Then we'll go to Madam Yeti, then Madam Adesua, before we go back to TC. So let's hear you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate you, Coach Nwadiuto.
Thank you, sir.
Let me share an experience that happened to me this year. This is why I emphasize the issue of change a lot. I have been on a long journey for knowing who I am internally, then changing internally to help me help my children. January this year, we had just come back from church, and my wife noticed that our last girl, who is the only teenager we have now, wasn't around. So she called my eldest son and said, "Michelle, where are you? Who has just gotten married last month? Where's your sister?" And Michelle said, "I don't know." Only to get outside, and we came face to face with what we have never thought about in our lives. And what was it? She had taken the noose to hang herself right in the compound. And thank God for all the coachings I've gone through. I decided as much as possible to calm myself. And so we got her out. I took her to my room. My wife was screaming. I asked everybody to be calm. I allowed that day to pass all through. You know what I did? Because I knew I wasn't emotionally ready to talk with her at that time based on my shock. So all I went to do was I just went to her and I said, can you please give me permission to ask your boyfriend to come to the house? And she said, that will be okay. So I called the boyfriend and I said, can you please come to the house and stay with us for the next 3 days? Because I knew that when he comes, it will give me an understanding of what I didn't pick up, that I lost track of in those little days that I became so busy with church. So the young man came and stayed with us. We have a big house. Everybody has a place to stay. Then, the second day, we convened a family meeting. Or rather, she decided to convene a family meeting, my daughter. So we were all present. It held in our room. So the issue came. What was it that made you even think about it? And she said, going to what Auntie A said, number 2, she said, because I feel nobody understands me. At that point, I sank in a little bit, because if there is actually anyone who understands her, I will say I am the one. But we had an issue between two of us 2 days prior to that time, and I refused to take the step that I should have taken. I wanted her to come to me when I knew I should be the one to go to her. Going to her would have made it easier for her to say what she was going through in her mind. But I wanted her to come to me. So at that point, I said to myself, you should have reverted back to who you used to be, which is not waiting for them to come to you. You know how you go to them, and you are able to open them up and they talk to you or they talk with you. That is the first time that my daughter will attempt something she has never told me about. I can say that wholeheartedly. So this brings me to that point of internal change, because sometimes we feel that traditionally the child should be the one to come to the parent. But the parent should change internally to know that things have changed. When you are able to understand who they are and pick up who they are one after another, then you should know how to treat each child differently, because you don't, I usually use a word, I say you don't must train them, or you train them each according to their personality and peculiarity. So the internal change begins by trying to learn who each child is individually as a person, and then breaking through what TC has identified as religious, traditional, and cultural barriers and moving from there. As a pastor, for instance, I have changed what I teach my people a lot. By moving away from what I was taught. Was I even taught? No, no one taught me parenting. I just saw it. so by moving away from what I saw to deliberately learn, and this internal change of learning to break through the traditional barrier, exactly as an Okwani man, the traditional barrier has helped me a lot in connecting with my children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So let's hear you, Madam Yeti. And then if one of you, okay, Madam Adesua wants to speak, Madam Adesua, and then if one of you could also please talk about, there's a question about the child not opening up. So the child now is refusing, you've gone to the child, but the child now is refusing to open up or disclose anything. So please, if you can speak to that also.
I just applauded. I didn't say I wanted to speak. Yeti is going next.
Oh, I'm so sorry, ma.
Okay. All right. Wow. Thank you, Pastor Chika, for sharing that. And, you know, to the question about how parents can change, there's a lot of things we could cover, but one of the first things, or something that has really stuck with me, is the fact that it is okay to ask questions. We're supposed to ask questions. And growing up, so I'll go back a little bit very quickly. Growing up, I'm a middle child, and two things happened to me that I always said I wouldn't repeat when I become a mom, which was being compared to your siblings a lot. I was like the sandwich one in the middle. So I was compared a lot to the older brother, who's very smart, and the baby who was just seemed perfect. So I was that one who just, you're a different type of thing. So that was number one. The second one was I asked a lot of questions. My God, I was like Google before Google came. And it used to frustrate my mom. So if I ask questions, she'll say, and I'll say, but why? And she'll say, because I said so. And I'm like, but that's not enough. You haven't really answered my question. So I know it used to be very frustrating. So I will fast forward now very quickly to, I think it was, my son was maybe 4 or 5. And he asked me something. And I said, I don't know. And he said, Mommy, stop saying you don't know. Google it now. You know, he was about 5. And it really stuck with me then that one of the biggest things is that it is okay to not have all the answers. It is okay to explore together with your children. And I think when it comes to what can parents do to change, it is first of all accepting you are no longer the gatekeeper of information. The problem nowadays is actually our children have much more content than they can ever chew, than they can ever fully understand. What they need us for is to be there for context. So I say a lot that, you know, content without context is very dangerous. So we need to actually change by coming from a place of, because it's very easy to get into slangs. And I think one of the slangs a lot of us can get used to saying now is, we're unlearning and relearning, we're unlearning and relearning, but not actually going through the process. What are we unlearning? First of all, you're unlearning that you don't have all the answers, right? So what are we relearning? We're relearning that there are different ways to do certain things. It doesn't mean all those ways are right. It doesn't mean all those ways fit your values as a family, but you must understand that there's options. And then it's important that our children understand why we're coming from where we're coming from, because they don't have to fully agree with you, but they have to understand where you're coming from. And that's why I think there's a lot of rebellion as well. Rules without relationships leads to rebellion. No matter the age of the child, no matter where you are from, no matter what culture, what religion, rules without communication leads to rebellion. So we have to unlearn and truly relearn with the fact that our children are different, their love languages are different. The perfect intersection of intentional parenting is when your parenting style actually matches your child's love language. That's the beautiful spot. So every child has a love language and every parent has a parenting style, whether or not you know it. But what's important is that that parenting style and your child's love language is like a Venn diagram. Who remembers Venn diagrams in school? That intersection in the middle is where your style matches what your child is looking for, so that then their emotional tank is fed, is filled, and then together you can make sure that they help to, you can then navigate all these, you know, phases through life. So that's what I think, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you so much. Wow, you people are really dropping gems here. Okay, that's a good one. Thank you so much, Madam Yeti. So let's hear you.
Yes, I think I'm next, right? Before
Yes,
TC.
you are, ma.
And what we do differently. And I think both of them have covered it quite clearly. And but for people to have better understanding, examples and some, when we create analogies, people will understand better. And what Pastor Chika has said is very true. Proving true that question of they don't understand me. Now, how do you get your children to understand you? There's one mother in the house who just said something like, I'm a widow of 3 daughters. I'm always worried. 2 things stand out. She's a widow. She has no spouse. So she's already feeling like she's inadequate. Then she has 3 daughters. In our society, 3 daughters are like, well, we did get husband. We did get work. We did this. Our society is against them. So those things are so much in her head. And she's forgetting that at the end of the day, we're not in control of anything. Yeti has said something very clear. We are not in control of content, but we are in control of context. This is why we must also get it right. If Chika hadn't been observant enough as a parent to see and know that his daughter wasn't around, what would have happened on that day? So parents need to be very present, not only physical, but present enough to understand the children that they have, that every child can't be tarred with the same brush. But family values must be expressed expressly. And what's important to each family must be communicated to every child. In my home, my husband always says, a fellow Ndokwa man like Pastor Chika, that the Onion Okwes don't lie. You have to have a motto. Like I say, you are a parent, you are cooperating with God because you didn't bring the children to the world. You cooperated with God to bring the kids to the world. But what is the compass you're using to direct those children? It could be religion, which most of us do. But we forget again that religion, even the Bible, as TC has said, at a time it appeared that incest was okay. It was necessary, possibly. We don't know. Right? But culture has evolved to a point where incest, even biology, has shown you that it won't work. If it was accepted in the past, maybe God made it possible that there will be no change. We don't know. So we must be open to change, knowing that no matter what we do, each parent must understand that no matter what we do, what our children will become, they will become. What we owe them is education, which is not only school education, but teaching them what you believe, how you believe, the kind of future, the kind of characteristics they have to have, and living it yourself. You can't tell your children, Onion Okwes don't lie, and they hear and see you lie. They will take you on these days. So you have to explain yourself. And I would ask that parents should learn to admit that they do not know it, just like Yeti has said. It's very difficult to admit to your child that you don't know it. But we in my family, it becomes a point of laughter, and we laugh at each other, and we never agree at what point. I mean, I remember a word recently that was brought into the family. My daughter used the word segue, and we asked, what kind of word is that? And they said, oh, it's common, it's everywhere. But it took me a while to say, I really don't know what that word means. So even me, that I'm English major, but it was a major conversation. We argued, we laughed, and going forward, they would say, okay, you want to segue into the conversation? So that family time, when a child knows that you spend time, and I always say, make time for family holidays. These holidays don't have to be abroad. They can be somewhere that you are alone 24/7, because it's now I look back and I see that probably that's what worked for us, because we traveled very, very frequently. When the world was going to London and America, my husband said, look, let's discover Africa. We went to Kenya, we went to Egypt, we went to Ghana, we went to different places. But that time together, right, that's when we spent time, and that's what the memories, that's how they knew, away from our environment. So parents must learn to go away. We used to go away every December to the home in Warri and spend time together. So it's those time together that keeps us together. So what am I saying? We must change from the fact that our children don't know anything. They do know something, but we may know better. Well, we must agree on what is the compass by which this family will be driven. What works in this family? I tell them, look, when you are in your own house, you can have control, but in this house, the father is the head, the mother is the support. When we have this female empowerment argument, there is no end. But that's the stage we are in. We're talking about teenagers here. I have moved past that stage. But at every stage, don't stop loving your child and let them know in your words, in your thoughts, and in your actions that you love them. That's very important. I'm done talking.
Thank you so much. That is very deep. Thank you so much, Ma. TC, sir?
So I'm going to take my time to really dive into this because it seems like this is the core message of this program. If we can get this, then we'll begin our journey of restoration. Chuka, I want to commend you for sharing your personal story. Very few people will, especially pastors. You are a pastor that stands out amongst all equals. So I commend you. I celebrate you. You know, and you would find out that this panel, you know, is balanced, and you get a total message. And so I'm going to first of all speak from the perspective of change from what. So if there's no need for change, then why do you need to change? So I'm going to latch on to Chika because Chika or Chika's daughter represents many, many children today, and many of them are attempting suicide. Many of them. Many of them are attempting suicide. We dare not. When we were growing up, we dare not. But many of them are attempting suicide. Before you hear anything, they say, I'm depressed. Before you hear anything, I'm bored. Before you hear anything, and we just think that they're just saying it. And so we wave it away. You know, the case is like when you drive on Third Mainland Bridge, they put a billboard, you know, at night, those very bright billboards. The first time you pass through it, you notice it, right? You pass that part, you notice it. The second day, you notice. The third day, by the time you pass there for weeks and months, you stop seeing it, even though it's there. So when your children continue telling you, because you've heard it over and over, you've generalized and commonized what they are saying, but they may be saying something to you. You may not, you may be the one that is not hearing. And so let me reiterate the problems that our children have with us. You know, we focus on the problems we have with them, and that colors our judgment. We're always thinking about ourselves. We're so selfish. We do not realize that they did not beg us to come to this world. They didn't beg you. You know, for the ones that waited for years. Have you forgotten how long you prayed for, you fasted for, you sowed seed for? The pain you felt for years before you conceived and had that child. Many of us have forgotten. For the people that got it easy, yeah, maybe for you it was easy. But the people that had it difficult, right? You know what you went through. You know what you told God. You know the promises you made, the commitments you made. So many of us are self-centered and selfish. And so we no longer hear. We no longer feel. We no longer understand. And so I am going to first of all remind us about the things that they've been complaining about. Toddlers between the ages of 0 to 12, right? This is their problem with their parents. So this is their problem with you, that you are listening to me. They feel neglected. They feel unloved. They think that you are too rigid in your parental ways. You are too rigid. You are too tight. You are too strict. They feel physically, emotionally, and verbally abused by you. They think you lack affection. You lack attention. They think you are absent. Children that are teenagers, 13 to 19, they have problems with you too. They feel like you never listen and you don't care about them. And that's why they constantly have friction with you, because you don't even know how to communicate with them. You miscommunicate. You have too many don'ts, too many do's. You decide what school they would go, you decide their career, you decide what they will wear, you decide what they will eat, you control their life as if they are robots. They see a generational gap that cannot be bridged. So they see you far and they have a problem with your generation. They think that you have problems in your job, in your finances, with your husband, with your wife, and you transfer aggression to them. They think that they are victims. You impose your problems, you impose your ideologies, you impose your biases upon them. They think you lack appreciation of who they are because you are comparing them with Auntie Kemi's daughter. Do you know that Auntie Kemi's daughter smokes in their hemp? What have you said to your child who doesn't smoke? That, yeah, Auntie Kemi's daughter got A's. Can't you be like can't you be like Tinuke? What are you telling your child? Your child knows more about Tinuke. Oh. She knows that she has slept with 10 boys. So you are telling your child that it's okay for your child to smoke in their hemp and sleep with boys like Tinuke. All that comparison. You're comparing with her friends, with your friends' daughters, your friends' sons, with her other siblings. Do you know what your other sibling is doing? You are too harsh in your approach. You nag too much. You interfere in their social life. And that's their life. Oh, children of this generation, their social life is their life. It's almost as if you want to kill them when you control and interfere in their social life. You don't even understand their rules of dating. Hey, today, all of them can have the same. So they have 5 friends, they are girls, and they have 5 boyfriends. And they don't have a problem with when you break up with that boyfriend, your other friend goes out with him. They don't have a problem with it. This generation, their dating is different, completely different, and they are very secretive. So if they tell you something and they hear you tell daddy or tell somebody else, you've broken trust. What about your adolescent children, age 20 to 25? They believe you are still trying to control their life, who they will marry, the job they will do. They think that you betray them. That's right. You break your promises. That's right. You've been promising them something. You don't let them choose who they want to be. You put too much pressure on them. When are you going to have children? When are you going to you nag too much. You are a problem. You are the problem. It's time for you to change. And if you do not know that you are the problem, you will never change. You think your children are the problem. You think your husband is the problem. You think their friends is the problem. You think their school is the problem. You think internet is the problem. Social media is the problem. No. You, that you are listening to me, that you are watching me now. Now you be the problem. And so if you are the problem, then you have to change. And if you have to change, you have to know what has to change. So I will share with you what has to change. Number 1, you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself. And so the first thing that has to change is you have to know yourself. And when I talk about knowing yourself, I'm talking about self-discovery. I'm not talking about, oh yeah, I'm a doctor. No, I'm not talking about me born-again Christian. No, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm the third born. No, I'm not talking about my name is Larry. No. When we strip you Oh, I'm the MD of this bank. That's who I am. No, that's not who you are. That's what you do. Oh, I'm God's child. That's not who you are. That's a relationship you have. Oh, I'm beautiful. I have figure 8. No, that's the capsule that you are in. Many of us don't know ourselves. You need to know yourself. Because if you do not know yourself, you do not know what other people see of you. And so knowing yourself incorporates how you see yourself from your own perspective and how people see you from the external perspective. Then you will know how your children are looking at you, whether it aligns with how you are looking at yourself. Second thing that has to change, many people don't have family vision and constitution. Do you have a family vision? What's your family vision? What vision have you sold to your daughter or your son? What vision is driving you and your husband? What beliefs and values drive you? Do you have a constitution in your family? Because the Bible says that without a vision, the family perish. I'm applying it to, it says the people perish. But people are in families, people are in organizations. That's why organizations are run by a vision. And they share the vision with every staff. Your marriage, your family is an institution. Does it have a vision? Does it have a constitution? Does it have core values and beliefs that regulate it? And are you bigger than that family vision, or you are subject to it? Because if you place yourself, right, under subject to it, your children will respect and honor your family vision and constitution. Now, in knowing yourself, do you know your child? In knowing your child, do you know how your child's mind works? Do you know the environments that your child goes to and the influences and the triggers in those environments? Do you know your child's communication language? Do you know that it may be different from your own communication language? Do you know your child's needs, wants, and desires? Do you know what your child is passionate about? Do you have a family goal? Or do you have family goals? Do you have a goal for each child? Does that child know what that goal is? Do you know that you are simply a custodian? God is their father. He has just entrusted them to you as a nanny. That's right. You are a nanny. You are a custodian. You are a caregiver. God is their father. And you need to be able to take instructions about them from their father and report them to their father. And you need to ask their father what their purpose is, what their unique calling, mandate, and gifts on this earth are. How many of you parents are doing that? You have to start from there. And then the practical things, you have to be a good role model. Change. It's not what do what I say. No! Children watch what you do. You say, they come and meet you. They say, Mommy, Auntie Kemi is asking for you. She's outside. Tell her I'm not at home. You have just told your child that it's okay to lie. And then tomorrow you say, we don't lie in this house. But you told, your child will be thinking, this woman is a hypocrite. Yesterday, she was at home. She told us to tell Auntie Kemi that she's not at home. They hear your conversations on the phone. So you must leave it. You must first parent yourself. You must love them unconditionally. And your love must show through your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your actions, everything. You must practice kindness. And you must be firm. You are not your child's friend. It's not your bestow. It's not your bestow. You must practice firm, positive parenting. You must be your child's safe haven, not their nemesis. You must be their safe haven. You must have an intimate and personal relationship with your child. They must be able to talk to you. You must be their confidant. You must be able to talk to them. You must be able to be vulnerable. Tell them where you have failed. Tell them how you are failing. Tell them how things are difficult. Don't give them everything they need at every point in time. Don't spoil them to overcompensate. You are not showing them the reality of life. When you spoil them too much, you are not helping them build emotional and mental resilience. You give them everything, they will not be able to delay gratification. And so when they get out into the real world and they cannot have it the way that you've presented it in the house, what will happen? They will suffer mental breakdown. Oh, you must reflect on your own childhood. What worked? What didn't work? What must you trash? Challenge it. Challenge your parents' belief. Challenge your parents' tradition. Challenge your parents' culture. Challenge your parents' values. Change it. Because if you don't, you will transfer it. Identify whether you are functional or dysfunctional. If you are dysfunctional, go and get a therapist. Get a coach. Pay attention to your own well-being and your own personal development. Because what you don't have, you can't give. What you are struggling with, your children most probably will struggle with it. You've got to keep things in perspective. That's right. This world, you have to understand this world. It's a new order. It's a new dawn. You have to be a student of this world. You have to research it. But most importantly, I strongly recommend that for change, you attend our coaching classes, our emotional intelligence classes, our NLP classes, our psychology classes. Why? Because the number one role of parents today is a coach and a therapist. Today, the number one role of a parent, is coaching and therapy. They are skills that parents need today. Now, in terms of life, right, you've got to eat together. Find time to eat together. Travel together. Have fun together. It is more powerful than praying. I'm telling you. Research has proven that families that eat together regularly, travel and have fun together. Oh my God, there's this bond. There's this unity. There's this oneness. That's when you will know your child. Every time I travel with my children, I am studying. I am taking notes. Because that's the time that they will be free to be themselves. That's the time they will see me free. When we go to theme parks, I will, because I'm afraid to go on those rides, I will go on those rides. They will see daddy screaming. I will hold on to my two daughters like this. They will be laughing and making fun of me. When we come down, they will make fun of me. It is in those moments, after those moments, when we go and have ice cream, burger, that small, I'll be chipping in my values. The things I want to teach them. That's when I'm dropping it in, not when I hold cane. It won't enter. They can relate with me. Dada, tomorrow we must do this right. I'll tell them no. I'll tell, I can't do it. I cannot do it. You want to kill me? Then they will force me with their mom. They will force me. I will beg. Then they will promise me that if I do it, they will do something for me. So that's when I'll ask them, okay, you will do it. Okay, this is what I want. And I will try. I can do the right though. I'm using it as a tool for negotiation. Don't let my children hear. I'm going to review. It's a tool of negotiation. Find the best tools of negotiation. Negotiate with your children. You have to change. You have to change. They have a problem with you. You are the problem. Change. I'm done speaking, as they say. I'm done speaking.
In fact, no, we can close now. We can just end. We can end it all. Thank you so much. Wow, that was very profound. That was really, really profound. Thanks a lot, especially to Pastor Chika, who took time to actually share something really personal and deep. It has sounded something deep in every one of us to actually be present, like Madam Adesua said. We need to be present in the moment and not just parenting from afar. Be really, really present in the moment. I think we have answered several questions, honestly, from everything that we have said so far. Many of the questions that were raised, we've totally answered it. And if we can pay attention to the things that have been said, all your questions are actually just subsets of what have been said. So it has actually been tackled. Yes, let's hear you, Madam Adesua.
There's a question that was raised in the House that I thought that we should respond to. And I think maybe Yeti can share some examples in that area. Somebody asked, do I go through their social media? You know, and I think it would be wise at this point in time for Yeti to explain to parents at what point do we begin to show interest. But based off of what TC has said, being there for them and looking for that tool of negotiation. Most times for me, what I do is pretend I don't have the knowledge about certain things. I say, okay, you teach me, right? And you know, when your child knows that they are giving you something, right? They love you. Because I always blackmail my children sometimes. Okay, you know what? Just because of me, do it for me. You know what I mean? So that works at the same time. So in terms of social media, it's difficult. TC also said something about they don't play with their friends. And the place that they play with their friends today is social media. I mean, in terms of the fact that it's their phone, they are forever on their phone. I didn't have that problem with number 1 because there was no telephone. But by the time I was getting to number 5, 6, and 7, that's where they are at. So with the things that work, for example, that we don't compromise, we always sit at table to eat. This morning, I told you I couldn't join you by 11 because we're going to be at table and we had to eat together. You know, my mother-in-law is here. We set the table, we sit down. That's when you talk. That's when you do everything. You know what I mean? And the table is my office, more or less. So I had to do that. So when they say a family that prays together stays together, at least at table you will pray before you start to eat. Even if you don't gather them to kneel down and be praying and you say the same prayer. Or you have to sit down together, right? And making sure, having television sets in every room. And when they sit down on this, my kids, yes, they spend their time in their room looking at their social media. But we have to find something that we all watch. We sit down, we find series that everybody's going to watch because it's an opportunity for me to share my ideas. For example, right now we're watching The Voice, even though they are different parts of the world. And they're asking, okay, have you seen what's happening? You find something that all of you will do together. So when they stay in their room too long, I say, look, it's time to come. I mean, you've been in your room for so long. What's happening there? We are here in the living room. You know, let's do something together. We don't stop them, but we guide them and we put our foot down. So with social media, you can't say don't be on social media. When they were younger, I would say at 11 o'clock, I'll take their phone at 11 p.m. and they will grumble, but 6 o'clock you can sleep well and ready for school tomorrow, right? But now I don't know what works. Maybe Yeti can speak to that. I'm done talking.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Auntie, for that. And, you know, certainly when we talk about what parents need to learn and what we need to change, this one is not even about learning. We don't know anything about the digital space. We don't understand the digital world. We are not digital citizens. We are not digital natives. A lot of us are what I call, we're digital migrants. We migrated into the digital world when we got older and we were formed. So when you go to a new place and you want to become the people that are jackpying to all parts of the world, when you move there, there's a different way of operating when you move to different parts of the world. You can't bring what you brought from wherever you came from. Some things will stay with you, but you have to learn the new laws of the land and the new ways of the land. It's the same thing with digital. We have to learn from our children. And the only way to be in a position to actually learn from them and with them is to do what? Is to drop that hat of, I know it all. You don't know it all. Now, when you come to your child from a place of true, genuine, hey, you know what? I came across, and that's where parents, you have to stop saying you don't know. Please, 5 minutes every day, go and research what is going on in the world. What are the challenges that they are doing? All these TikTok challenges, please know what is going on so that you can have informed conversations with your children. Now, to that particular question about should you monitor your child online, remember I said earlier, rules without communication leads to rebellion. How many of us have heard of something called Finsta accounts? A Finsta account is an account your child sets up to fool you, Share you want to be monitoring me, I will show you I'm smarter than you. I will create the account that you will like, and I will create the real account where I'm really who I am. So when you over monitor, you're like a helicopter parent, you're watching everything, and it's coming from a place of fear and you don't trust your child, you are going to break the relationship. There are many stages to raising children in the digital world. I have spent a lot of time in this space, and I'm actually having a program which is next Saturday, and we're going deep into understanding what it means to raise a digital citizen. The rules of the game are different. It's not even just about screen time or no screen time. It's past that. There's so many layers to this thing. And if you don't get the early years right, like between 0 and 13, you are in trouble. It doesn't mean you can't fix it, but who wants to be dealing with, a problem if you can avoid it? So in those early years, there's so many things to cover. And there are 3 things I'll leave you with. So every parent here is not about monitoring them online. It's not about being a monitoring spirit. It's not about always coming from a place of, hey, you're always on this. What are you always doing here? Once you come with that, they just tune you out. So there's digital footprint. Your children need to understand what this is. We can't cover everything today, but digital footprint is so critical. Coach TC mentioned earlier that there's no parenting school, there's no curriculum. Me, I'm trying to form my own, and Auntie A has spoken in advance about this parenting institute. There are things we must learn. Raising children today, you need a particular curriculum you can follow. There's just no ifs or buts about it. So these are 3 quick areas that we cover, and we will be covering. Digital footprint, the importance of it. You are all forming a footprint digitally, whether you like it or not. Somebody puts in your name, something will come up. And when children don't understand that, they fall into all kinds of situations that could have been avoided. The second thing is digital well-being. You have to pay attention. How does your child feel when he or she gets off screen time? You need to pay attention to that. Are they more aggressive? Do you know video games are causing our children to be very aggressive? Because the games now are so, oh my goodness, the games are so real. We need to mute someone. Let me just hold on. All right.
Okay. Joy needs to mute herself. Joy.
Okay. So I was saying that digital well-being is critical. We all need to pay attention to what it means. How do you feel after you've been online? Is your child suffering from FOMO? Mommy and dad, maybe even you two are suffering from FOMO. So let's deal with these things, right? And the third thing is digital hygiene. If you saw somebody who doesn't bath...
You're assuming that everybody knows what FOMO means.
Okay, indeed. So let me go back quickly. All of you go and sign up for the program that we're having. I'm not going to do too much out here. Go and pay for it.
No, give details, please. Give details of the program, please.
But I will. But FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And it's something that everybody faces. That's the truth. The difference is that now it's like on steroids. Everybody is seeing everybody else's life online. And you are judging yourself by somebody else's virtual life. Whether that's really how they are living there or not, you don't know. So when you start to compare yourself to other people online, it affects your self-esteem, especially for our teenagers who are just learning. So that's what FOMO is. And the last one is digital hygiene. What does digital hygiene mean? You need to take breaks. You need to go to bed early. You need to understand what blue light actually does to your child. Blue light suppresses the release of melatonin, which you need to go to sleep. So if your child is using a device late at night, late into the night, guess what? It's going to delay them even wanting to fall asleep. Then the child gets up in the night to go to the bathroom to quickly send a message to somebody. Guess what? You've disrupted their sleep as well. So digital hygiene is important. But if as a parent, you don't understand some of these basic things, how are you going to start to even help the citizens that are part of a culture that you don't understand? So it's really critical. And to quickly talk about the program I'm having, if you go to my Instagram page, all the info is there. But it's called Parenting Masterclass for June. And we're focusing on raising digital citizens. And I'm focusing on the early years. Being 0 to 13 is how I have bunched it together. We will have another one for teenagers. But before we finish this session, I will drop it in the chat as well so you can have a direct link to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really want us to end by the stipulated time that we have agreed upon so that we don't overshoot it. So we're going to be going around. Really, most of the questions have been answered, honestly. But if your question has not been answered, like TC said, see everyone you can see in the panel, we're all seasoned coaches, and you can slide into everybody's DM. So just slide into their DMs and get yourself the answers that you need. So TC and everybody on the panel, we're going to be going around. I know that we all have several events coming up soon. So we have the next few minutes to close. Tell us about your upcoming event and then how you can be found. So we'll just go round. You're going to close. You give a closing statement. You will tell us about your upcoming event, and then you tell us how you can be found. If you have links to your sites, please. My technical people will try to put it in, but then if they are not putting that in as fast as they can, if you can, please drop your links also as to where you can be found. So we will go through, starting with Pastor Chika Sir, then we'll have Madam Adesua, then we'll have Madam Yeti, and we will end with TC. So let's take it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Majuto. It's
you,
really been a pleasure being on this platform with my Oga, with a big auntie, and Yeti too. I really feel excited being on this platform. And I'm concerned a lot about what goes on internally with energies, because once you can understand your internal energies, you'll be able to perform better as a parent. I held a master class on emotional freedom parenting, and that is understanding the carryover of the negative energies from your childhood into your parenting. What most parents are going through now is that they are still carrying over the negative energies in their childhood states into their adult lives. So until you are able to deal with that, you may see yourself being reactive to your children instead of responding to them with the positive energies that they need. The way you can find me is Chika Osai, PhD, across all social media platforms. Thank you.
You have an event in August for teenagers. Can we hear about that, sir?
Oh, yeah, the Emerge. I hold that every August. The date is not yet fixed.
Okay.
When it's done, I will publish that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Big auntie.
Thank you, Chika. Thank you, Chika, for your vulnerability and for your honesty, because that's where we learn from. You know, when you think everybody doesn't make mistakes, it feels like everybody makes mistakes. The difference between one person and the other is that they get up and they move. And thank you for that. And as I round up, I would like to quickly, stated that people should look out for my book, Being Mama. I don't know what the title is going to be at the end of the day, but I realized that all the walk that we walk in life is for us to, at some point in time, be able to put it down in a book for people to learn from. And please know, we all are work in progress. We never have everything that we know is not all there is to know. But what we know is something that somebody else may be able to walk with and walk with, to work and walk with. And very quickly, I want to reconnect those questions to some of the things that are here for the benefit of those who probably tuned in late, right? Some of the questions you ask are, how do you raise decent children in this corrupt generation? Be decent and don't be corrupt. We've already said that, be the example. How do you encourage preteens to do their work in school without being beaten or yelled at? And this relates to the second question about, is there really a downside to flogging a child? We were flogged and we turned out nicely. Ask yourself, did you really turn out nicely? Ask yourself. Because there are things that we did when that was done to us, so we will never do it to our children. What you find, one of them is caning, right? What you find is some parents in our generation, us included, me included, I caned some, but we didn't cane. We felt like, oh, that cane has a negative impact. But you know what's happening? We are raising children that someone described as hothouse plants, and I kind of identified with it because I've seen what my children have struggled with. They become children that they are like the children that you put in a place and they are cared for like egg, what we call like jebota, and they can't fend for themselves, and we are shipping them off abroad for most children, parents who are in the middle class. struggling to pay school fees to take these children abroad, and we have not raised them to know the difference between right and wrong and how to take care of themselves. Fortunately, there are very great universities in Nigeria today, so we really don't have to ship our children away until they're like 18 and strong enough, or maybe 21, take a first degree here and go abroad for the experience. But when they go early, I mean, that's a topic for another day, because we're working on a conference for that in future, where you lose your children because you're sending them abroad very early in life, right? And so it's important that we remember that if we don't fix ourselves, we can't fix our children. We also have some defects, which is why I do recommend, I know, for example, how the coaching training has worked personally for me in my family. I've sat in the position of coach for my children. So it's something that even if you don't say, I want to go and learn this thing so that I can make money or help other people, it helps you to help your family first. It's an investment that should be made. Then what do I do that upsets my children? You've already said it. Go and find out. Go and learn. I would like to know how we can make teens see correction as a way of good training. Teens don't want to be corrected here, and hence they see every correction and scolds as parents as being harsh on them. You felt the same way, be honest. So if your children are feeling that way, don't be surprised. So learn the tricks of knowing how to manage your children in today's world. We are digital migrants. I used to think we were digital visitors, but we have to stay in this space. We can't run away. So we have to learn new things and how to act in those places. But remember, you are a work in progress. You cannot know it all. And please, your children are your priority. Because at the end of the day, think about it. When you're gone, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. I'm done talking. Thank you.
Thank you. How can you be found? You didn't say.
Well, the good thing is, on social media, just find my name, Adesuwa Nyenokwe. I'm everywhere, and updates are there, whatever I have, because I have a group coaching coming up soon in July, all of July. I'm partnering with fellow coaches in the home to prepare. I call it the July coaching. So all the details will always be on the social media platform. So for those who are not on social media, go there. Even if they close it one day, use it now, right? The least you can do is be on Facebook. Be on Facebook.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you, Ma. Madam Yeti.
Okay, I want to read something in my roundup very quickly. Parents, don't provoke your children to anger. Do not exasperate them to the point of resentment with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive. Do not show favoritism or indifference to any of your children, but bring them up tenderly with loving kindness in the discipline and the instruction of the Lord. This is Ephesians 6:4, and this version is amplified version. And I think it captures, I know it captures so much about what we talk about. There's so much about, children should listen to their parents, following the way of, there's a lot of that about what parents should do. But this passage, I came across it many years ago and I've been studying it, which means that it is possible for us to provoke our children to the point of what? They are exasperated, they are frustrated. So all of those feelings then come in. So we have to understand that when we talk about raising our children, there's no script that we can copy and paste, but there are guidelines and there are things that are based on research, based on examples. Thanks to the internet, you can research any topic you want and you can find out how to do certain things better. So really, for me, the rounding is just parenting is an ongoing journey. The African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Me, I've tweaked it. My own is it takes an e-village to raise a child. We have to move into the e-world. We have to understand the way of today's age, digital age. It's not going anywhere. I've done studies of industrialization stages. We've moved from first to second to third. We're in the fourth. Some people will even say we've moved to the fifth already, but I don't know. But the point is things are shifting. We cannot go back to how things used to be, but we cannot parent from a place of feeling frustrated. Once you feel unempowered or disempowered as a parent, you've already lost it. So we really have to learn, continue to grow, be willing to learn from our children, let them guide us. Parenting can be so much fun if you allow your children to guide you. I say I'm younger now than when I started Lagos Mom 10 years ago. He's actually 10 years old this month, by the way. when I started with my first blog post on LagosMoms.com. So I'm really excited that 10 years later, we're still here and we're growing. How can you find me? At Lagos Moms. I'm everywhere at Lagos Moms, Instagram, Facebook. Can I say Twitter? Well, LagosMoms.com. You can find me there and get in touch with me. And for the program I mentioned, it's on Saturday, June 29th. I put the link in the bio. In the chat room. Anybody that can join, please do so. It'll be great to continue this conversation around raising children in this day and age. Thank you, and I'm done speaking.
Before TC
Thank
comes,
you so much.
I just wanted to raise, I think it was CY in the chat room that said something like his son always tells him that, I'm assuming CY is a guy, that they call him technology is hard. You see, I get that for my kids all the time, but I've refused to allow them push me down. I say, look, that's why I had you. Teach me, please. I don't know. Teach me, So we must be ready to learn. Technology is hard, but
Thank you very much, Ma. TC, sir.
Thank you very much, Uwa.
I don't
Thank
know
you.
how much more you're going to shatter this table. You have shattered it already.
TC, Abi, we need to find the carpenter to make us new ones.
Please, the table hasn't even recovered.
There is no table anymore.
Thank you very much, Uwa.
Thank you, sir.
Really celebrate you for putting this together. I want to thank you to Yeti for agreeing to be on this platform to speak to parents. Chika, thank you very much. Deswa, thank you very, very much. We have to recognize that we are messengers. And today, our message to the world is this. So God sent us, because a new Bible will never be written. Let me take that again. A new Bible will never be written. And so we're God's oracles. We're God's messengers to you to help you bring a relatable message. So Yeti has quoted the Bible, especially in the context of what we're talking about today. And I bring you another message from Romans 12:2. First question that I heard from Adeswa is that raising children in this corrupt world, right, talks about a corrupt world. This world we live in today is not more corrupt than the world of Solomon, or the world of Sodom and Gomorrah, the world of Abraham. The world of Abraham, there was sodomy. That's why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Men were sleeping with men. This world is not more corrupt than any other world. You are just not relevant. You are not up to date. The world is always been corrupt. That's why Jesus came to die for the corrupt world. So this world now is not more corrupt. It's just that you're not, you're not with the program. You are living in your own cuckoo world. Wake up. Wake up. Romans 12:2. It says, don't copy the culture, the behavior, the custom, the tradition of this world. But let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good, pleasing, and perfect. Concerning your children, live by example so that they do not copy, and teach them not to copy the traditions, the culture, and the behaviors and the customs of this world. Because the world in itself is a corrupt world. It has always been, it is, and will always forever be. That's why Christ came to die. But you must lead your children. You must live by example. You must first be transformed. You must be changed. Your thinking and your belief system must change. And you must change and invest in your children's thinking and their belief system. Then you must teach them the will of God. And then they would experience pleasure, perfection, and prosperity. But for you, You must respect and honor your children. You must recognize that they are spirits. They have minds. They only live in that earth suit, just like you do. They are spiritual beings having human experiences. Do you have spiritual connections with them? Do you have intellectual connections with them? Do you have deep soul connections with your children? Or it's just about do's and don'ts? Your children are not objects. They are not things. They don't even belong to you. They belong to God, and you are simply the custodian. They are sons and daughters of the Most High and the Almighty God. They share the same inheritance with you. They are not beneath you at all. Oh. They are equal to you. Let me repeat that. They are not beneath you. Your children are equal to you before God. That's right. Respect them, honor them, treat them well. Our biggest problems today is in the area and in the arena of the soul, the human emotions. I want to invite you to attend my next class. It's happening on the 17th and 18th, and I'm going to give you 40% discounts. That's right. It's the Emotional Mastery course. That's the area of greatest challenge in this world. The Bible says that he who saves a soul is wise. The soul is the seat of your intellect, your will, and your emotions. Let me get you to understand that it is impossible for you to make any decision in your life without your emotions. Your emotions influence your decisions. Your decisions influence your actions. Your actions produce the results in your life. If you do not master your emotions, you are finished. If you do not master your soul, you are finished. It's the intersection between the spirit and the soul and the body. If you see the Audi logo, like 3 circles that hook themselves, the soul is at the center. If the soul is broken, the spirit, the body, and the soul are disconnected from each other, right? If the soul is weak, the spirit is weak and the body is weak. Develop your soul. Know your soul. Know your emotions. Master it. Know your mind. Master it. Develop your intellect and your will, and do the same for your children. But that which you do not have, you cannot give them. So register for my Emotional Mastery course. You will get a 40% discount. I'm sure one of my mentees will post the link in the chat room. Make sure you register. Let's begin to raise the right children. To raise the right children, we must raise ourselves to be the right parents. And how can I be found? These kind of conversations that shatter the tables of religion. If you hate religion, if you hate church, join me tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Clubhouse, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. I teach the grace of God. We're no longer in the dispensation of the law. We're in the dispensation of grace. The last 2 weeks, we learned about the story of David. David was an adulterer. David was a murderer. But God calls him the man after his heart. Do you know that no sin can send you to hell? That's right. When you have accepted Christ as Lord and Savior, no sin can send you to hell. That is the gospel of grace. It is news that is too good to be true. If you sin after you accept Christ and you think you go to hell, then the power of his death and resurrection is useless. He has no power. No, not that death that he went through. Why would God go through what he went through? After all, before you were born, he died for you. So he died for your sins, past, present, and future. Hello, you were not yet born when he saw all your sins and died for it. So the price is
up. Sorry, I have to question before the Levites. If I miss it, you have one on the point. I think he wants to ask you a question.
All right. So the price is paid. The price is paid for you. Join us tomorrow on Clubhouse every Sunday, 9 a.m. It's the Be Transformed Tribe. And also every day, Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. to 10:30 on Clubhouse, the Be Transformed Tribe. We speak about real life issues during the week, And then we teach the grace of God on Sunday. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And when Twitter comes back, I will be back on Twitter. Me, I don't do VPN. I know if you break the law of the land. It's not that serious. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, let's hear the question from the Levite. So unmute yourself, please, and ask your question. Okay.
Good day, everyone. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay. Although he has answered from his talking, I guess he answered what I wanted to ask. I guess he answered it, of which I've copied that. So that won't be necessary again. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much then. Thank you so much. So in closing, I would like to say thank you so much. I am honored and it's a great privilege to have this wonderful people on this platform. Thank you so much. I am so grateful and I hope that we'll do this again. I hope that when we call, we will be answered again. So for as many of us that still have questions to ask and all of that, we can be met. You can slide into our DMs and all the links that have been posted. Please, they'll be available to respond to your questions. And then there's definitely going to be another Bridging the Gap. So this summer, we still have an event for teenagers. So just watch this space for another event for the teenagers. So everybody has events and you've been invited. So just click the links and go through them and register for the various events. Even the feedback for this event also. Let's know how this event was for you. We would love to know how this event was for you. And thank you very much as many that made this a success. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring me and honoring my panelists. TC says
They say, how can you be found? They say, how can you be found?
Oh, sorry. Please find me. I'm right here.
What are your handles? You should type it in the house.
Yeah.
And next time, we are both wearing our glasses. Can't you see our glasses are just swinging?
In fact, do you know that we are all wearing glasses? Come to think of it, I didn't even notice. What? Okay, my handle is Nwaduto Chats on Instagram, and then when you click on my bio, there are several other links there where you can reach me for whatever issues you have, parents, teenagers, whatever it is at all. So those are my links, and the feedback form also have been posted there. So thank you very much for coming. We're sorry that we shot by some minutes, but I'm sure we all had a nice time here. So thank you very, very much. God bless you. Thank you, my panelists. I cannot thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough. I am humbled and I am honored to have had you here. So thank you so much. Please follow the links before we end this meeting. Follow all the links that have been posted there, please. Thank you so much. And this brings us to the end of this event. So bye-bye, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Chika.
Bye.
Pastor Chika,
Bye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.